6:30, so let's call the meeting to order. If we could please have roll call.
Ms. Turner.
Present.
Mr. Burris.
Here.
Ms. Rich.
Present.
Ms. Simon.
Present. All right, so I understand it's not on the agenda, but we're going to add this, so we can call it 1B perhaps, that we need to, oh, can we slip Mr. Rabowski in?
Yep.
Okay. Say present.
Into the microphone.
Mr. Rabowski.
Present.
There we go. Fantastic, sir. So we do need another order of business here to have Ms. Simon join us. What do we do?
So I believe she's still an alternate to the board. I think the commissioners have to do the official appointment.
Right, okay.
That hasn't happened yet.
Okay,
but
so
we
we
just
need to
need
talk vice chair.
election for a vice chair.
Okay. So since we are without a vice chair, since he is now our city commissioner, we need to elect a new vice chair. So are there
I
any
nominate George Boris.
motions?
Have a
And
second.
may I second?
You may.
I will second that.
Thank you.
Can we have a roll call on that?
And, yeah, any other nominations? You can just say all in favor, say aye.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Mr. Boris?
Congratulations.
Thank you so much, right-hand man. All right, so now, let's move on with the business at hand. Can we have our quasi-judicial announcements?
This is a quasi-judicial rather than a, excuse me, this is a quasi-judicial proceeding where the Board of Adjustment acts in a quasi-judicial rather than a legislative capacity. At a quasi-judicial hearing, it is not the board's function to make law, but rather to apply law that has already been established. In a quasi-judicial hearing, the board is required by law to make findings of fact based upon the evidence presented at the hearing and apply those findings of fact to previously established criteria contained in the Code of Ordinances in order to make a legal decision regarding the application before it. The board may only consider evidence at this hearing that the law considers competent, substantial, and relevant to the issues. If the competent, substantial, and relevant evidence at the hearing demonstrates that the applicant has met the criteria established in the Code of Ordinance, then the board is required by law to find in favor of the applicant. By the same token, if the competent, substantial, and relevant evidence at the hearing demonstrates that the applicant has failed to meet the criteria established in the Code of Ordinance, then the board is required by law to find against the applicant. Are there any members of the board wishing to disclose any ex parte communications or conflicts of interest this evening?
No.
Seeing none, anyone wishing to speak this evening, if you could please stand and raise your right hand to be sworn in.
Well, whoever's going to speak.
Whoever's going to speak. It's okay. Just in case.
Just in case.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
So sworn.
All right, thank you so much. So the first application we have today is number 22-35, which is a variance to increase the maximum allowed driveway width at 325 West Martin Luther King Jr. Drive. If we can begin with the staff presentation, please.
All right, Allie Keem with Planning and Zoning. This subject property is located again on West Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. It's on the south side of the street, and it's outlined in yellow on your screen. The property is located in the R70 1 and 2 family residential zoning district. There's a mix of residential zoning in this area. There's R60 to the north, which is also a 1 and 2 family zoning, and then residential multifamily to the south of the site. The applicants are proposing to remove their existing driveway that's concrete and put a new driveway in that's pavers. And they are here requesting variance approval to allow them to exceed the total maximum width of a circular drive. The applicants are proposing a total width of 45.5 feet wide, and they're only permitted 23 feet wide by the ordinance. The image shown here is just the purple area shading in the existing configuration of the driveway, and just to note that the total existing driveway total width is only 29.5 feet currently, so it is non-conforming with the code as it is today. And because they're removing the driveway and putting a new one in, that's why it has to come into full compliance. The Land Development Code states that the maximum total driveway width measured at the property line shall not exceed 33% of the lot width, or 28 feet, whichever is less. This property has a lot width of 70 feet, so therefore it's allowed a maximum driveway total width of 23 feet. Again, the existing is 29.5 feet, and they are proposing 45.5 feet. The site plan that's shown here is provided by the applicant. The area that's shaded in blue is the existing configuration of the driveway, and the yellow area shows where they're proposing to widen it. The western drive is a width of 25.5 feet, and then the eastern portion of the drive is 21.5 feet. When looking at the existing lot, it is a conforming lot of record, meaning that it meets the minimum lot area, width, and depth requirements for the R70 zoning district. The existing home also meets and exceeds in some locations the minimum front setback requirement, which is 25 feet, meaning that it is not set any closer to the road than what would be permitted today. When looking at the surrounding neighborhood, you'll probably notice that there are several houses that have circular drives similar to what's proposed. I did take a look at those and got an approximate average of their total width, and the properties that are, it's kind of hard to see here, but the shaded or dotted blue lines are the properties that have the circular driveways, and that average width was 34.5 feet. And one thing to note is this property does have the smallest width that's 70 feet wide. Some of these properties go up to 120 feet wide, so they would be allowed a wider driveway. But in essence, the average width already exceeds what the maximum would be allowed today under our code. These are just some snapshots from Google just to see the existing driveway configuration. This is looking west along Martin Luther King Boulevard. And then just another shot looking at the existing driveway configuration. And here are your decision criteria, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Do we have any questions? Ms. Rich?
So Ally, just so I'm clear, the current driveway, obviously, since it's requested to be replaced, it must be an older driveway. And so the current owners, from their some of the things, they haven't probably lived there after the original driveway was installed. And just wondering if in a driveway situation, because we've dealt with some of them before, when it's just a repaving, does that get permitted? And does it also have to in a repaving? Or is it just because it's a different new type of why it would now come before us?
So definitely because we look at it as it's a new driveway, essentially, so that's why it has to conform. If they're coming in to repave what was there, we would definitely take a look into the permit history and make sure what's currently on the lot was legally conforming. I wasn't able to determine that in my history at this point, but because they're proposing to replace it, it had to comply regardless. But if it was legally permitted in the past and it's considered legally non-conforming, I think that we would look at it as typical maintenance if they had to resurface it.
Thank you.
And to clarify, if I may piggyback on what Ms. Rich was asking, so that would be if it was the maintenance of repaving or pavering, if it is
Right.
within the existing footprint and you did the research as you noted.
Yeah, and I think we'd have to look at it too, because if they had to physically remove the entire driveway to put something else new in, it'd have to comply. If it's just a matter of, I don't know, say, fixing a portion of it, that might be a different case. So we'd have to look at it in more detail, but general maintenance wouldn't trigger it to come into compliance.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Sir.
So as bizarre as this may seem, if they were to apply for an after-the-fact variance, right?
They would not be allowed to do that. The code is very specific for after-the-fact variances. Okay, well, let me take a step back.
That's what I'm getting at.
I see what you're saying. So again, we would look at the permit history, and if we found that, say, it was properly permitted but constructed incorrectly, or the permit was issued in error, in those situations, potentially, yes, they can apply for an after-the-fact variance.
And if they
went and
got
did
that, then
this and
wouldn't
came
that
back now-
grandfather them in for the space?
I'm sorry.
If they did that, wouldn't that grandfather them in for the space to put these pavers in that same amount of space? Bingo.
I so I still think that if they, because how we've treated driveways in the past that were concrete and they're replacing them with pavers, we look at it as a new driveway, so I think it would lose its potential grandfathered status at that point.
Okay.
Mr. Boris?
Yes, if they did half of it, and then next year did the other half, would that fall under the same category?
Yes, it's a total width measurement, so we would say they did the western portion at 25 feet when they came in, well, they couldn't do 25, but it did, 16 feet, and they came in later, we'd still make sure that the maximum doesn't exceed what they're allowed.
Okay, if the lot was 100 feet instead of 70, would they be allowed to do this driveway this size?
So, no, because, so it's a percentage, so it's 33% of the lot width or 28 feet, whichever is less. So I believe, my math skills are not great, but I believe that that would be more than 28 feet, so they'd be limited to 28 feet total.
I see, thank you.
Ms. Simon, any questions?
None at this time.
Okay, so if the applicant would like to present information at this time?
I think we need
To be on the record, if you could please be at the microphone, sir? Thank you. And when you could present, is that convenient for you? Thank you.
What we've been looking at since day one,
Oh, I'm not to cut you off, sir. If you could please just state your name and address for the record?
my name is Ira Stolan. I'm the contractor for JI Masonry Solutions.
Thank you.
What we've been looking at from the get-go is both practicality and hazards that are collateral from the current construction of the driveway and the driveway's proximity to the intersection. The access and egress is not good. As far as the homeowner is concerned, the amount of space in the driveway is not viable for him. There is not enough space to park cars, and parking on the street there, again, is not a viable solution. The traffic flow there and the potential for somebody to hit your car is great. So in looking to mitigate that, and I was not aware from the beginning that his existing drive wouldn't fall into code. That was only learned after the submittal of the permit application. So, I mean, given his existing drive, which is 16 feet wide going to the garage, that's a standard two-car driveway. And the arc going around is currently at 13 and change. That's all pretty standard. I mean, in order to comply with existing code, when we change the driveway out, his arc would have to go down to 6 or 7 feet. You can't get a vehicle on 6 or 7 feet. And the ability to pull out of that driveway from a straight drive is not, I mean, from any standpoint, it's just not an acceptable situation. The traffic coming up from that intersection and the traffic coming down from at 19, it creates a hazard. So the starting point for us is looking at obviously maintaining at least what he has now, and hopefully being able to build on it so it is more accessible and so that he can park cars there. Right now, he barely can get 2 cars on the driveway. If he has visitors, where do they go?
Okay, thank you, sir. Does anyone have any questions for the applicants?
Yeah.
Mr. Boris?
Can you clarify again, you mentioned alternate 19, what alternate 19 has to do with the size of the driveway?
Well, it's the flow of the traffic that I'm talking about. In
Okay.
other words, right now, the proximity to the Bayou intersection is close. You have
Okay.
people coming around that corner quickly. You're not, number one, going to want to park a car on the street, and then pulling back, trying to back out of that driveway with that traffic flow coming around is dangerous.
How many feet you need on the existing driveway that has 16 feet, that's in front of the garage of the house? How many feet do you need to park for 2 cars side by side?
Exactly 16 feet. No, I'm sorry. If you had exactly 16 feet, the cars would be right up against each other. You actually could use 18 to 19 feet for that purpose.
And the circular driveway will park another 2 cars?
The circular is not a question of how many vehicles would fit side by side. It's a question of a vehicle making that arc. If you are smaller than 12 or 13 feet, it really isn't accessible.
How long has been this driveway been there?
That I do not know.
I'm sorry?
The homeowner could tell you that.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
Anyone have any other questions of this applicant? If we could, maybe, it looks like we have someone else who could present information, but wanted to make sure. Okay, sir, if you would like to maybe help. And just please state your name and address for the record, please.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
My name is Gary Swales. I'm the owner of the property. Was a very interesting question from one of the members. Alternate 19 isn't really the problem. They're coming from east to west. It's when I back out of the driveway, people slam around that corner. They stop and go, almost like it's a roundabout. They can't see me, I can't see them. That's the problem. I've had numerous occasions where people will come around that corner and get it on, and then they'll slam their horn on me. I can't back out. What I wanted to do was be able to back and then go around the circular driveway. It's too tight, way too tight to do that. If I had about 7 feet on each side, that would give me plenty of room, because you can't park on the street. It'd be dangerous to park on the street. People are just plummeting through that stop sign, and they can't see me and I can't see them, because there's lots of foliage in my neighbor's lawn. So I might be 100 feet, 75, 80, 100 feet from that supposed stop sign, and people kind of, they may stop here, but then they rev around the corner. So it's just really an encumbrance, and I would hope that we could get some solution to that. It would be awesome. And the pavers are so beautiful, it's going to beautify the neighborhood. I mean, that's gorgeous. On the next street over, Manatee Boulevard, they're all pavered and they're all big driveways. Now, I know the zoning is different over there. Setbacks are different, front setbacks are different. They allow for new things, and it's a wonderful subdivision. I would just hope we could look at that and maybe come up with a solution, because I'm afraid someone's going to slam into me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Swales?
Yes, can I please
Yes.
remind you the question that I had? How long has this driveway been there?
I can't definitively answer that, sir. I bought it 6 years ago, and it was there, and by the looks of the driveway, looked like it'd been there 20 years. But I can't definitively say that, but it's old and all cracked. And
So on my question on the 16 feet that you have existing 16 feet in front of the garage of the house, and you want to increase it from the existing 29.5 on total to 45.5, where will the 16 feet go? Will they go adjacent to the 16 foot, which is in front of the garage, or will it be on the other side? Okay, go ahead.
If we could just have you at the podium, just so it's on the
okay,
record, sir.
and I think what my contractor is going to state is where the yellow is up there, we're coming over 7 feet there, just to go up about 3-4 feet, and then 7 feet on the other side to come up circular to aesthetically be able to negotiate around it. So we're adding some pavers in there. What, Ira? 400 square feet or something of permeable surface. Get in front of the microphone.
In other words, the logistics we're talking about is increasing the width of the flares. And I've gone through this with Pinellas County. I mean, they have mandated now that every flare has got to be minimally 5 feet. And their justification for that is hazards, so that people can easily access their driveways or egress their driveways without having to worry that they can't see, they can move to the side, it's maneuverable. What we're attempting to do here is give the homeowner that maneuverability, so that he's not always feeling when he pulls out of the driveway that someone's going to slam into him.
So the emphasis is on the curve
Well, we
for
have
easiness in drivability.
Yes. it
Why
is.
will we have to extend the 16 feet further out in front of the garage?
The way, yeah, the way, not to the garage,
No,
only,
not to the
only in the
garage.
circle.
Only in the circle up front on the yellow.
The next page.
Only over 7 feet, and then it would.
Where-
But the total width, I'm sorry, the
At the
total,
street, the total width would then be, on that 16, would be 24 feet.
24 feet?
Correct.
But
Okay,
it's
that's what-
currently 16 on your map.
Right, so if we added the 8 feet to that, it would take it to 24 feet.
But only at the street for the, inside my property for about 4 feet up. It's not coming, we're not gonna do that all the way up the whole.
No, but
side.
they're not concerned with that. They're only concerned with the right-of-way.
Oh,
Yeah, what touches the street, which is on the documents that you'd presented here, which I think Ms. Rich is looking at, is the 25.5 feet on the, is this west?
29.5.
Can I provide clarity? This is mislabeled on it's 24 feet.
It should be 24.
I'm sorry, that's just a typo on the presentation, but it's correct on their plan. So 24 feet, but it still totals the 45.5 feet.
But in terms of the current driveway.
Yes.
The map where it says the 16 feet that Mr. Burris is talking about and the 13 and a half feet, the current driveway is currently around a circular, right?
Correct.
And can you currently, with your car, make with the one car
It's difficult.
not with my truck there.
with a truck?
And that's a very good question, not with anybody in front of the garage. It's impossible. That few extra feet would allow that to happen. Plus, backing my truck up, I would back up, I could go around the circular driveway. I don't want to back up on MLK. People are just screaming around that corner. They blow their horns at me. Anyway.
There's a couple of factors that come into play. One is actually a vehicle making the arc around the circle. If you attempt to make that circle arc too narrow, and you try, and obviously we're talking about a lot that's 70 feet wide, so you're limited to how wide of an arc you can make. You can't make that, you can't navigate that. In order to be able to navigate and do it safely, you need some additional space out in the right-of-way so that he can maneuver to the side. That way he's able to visibly see what's coming and what's going. Right now, you don't have that luxury. And if the city of Tarpon Springs says, well, on top of all that, not only can't you widen it, but now you've got to bring the width of both down, that's going to exacerbate the problem, seriously.
Mr. Burris?
Yes. On the site plan that you have, the 25.5 became 24 feet.
Yes,
I can understand that. The structure itself has 20.9 feet. How you justify the 24 feet being narrower than the 20.9 feet that you have on the garage, right there, on the door of the garage? That doesn't add up.
the width of the driveway from the road, and I've done a personal takeoff, to the garage is 16 feet wide.
16.
The original survey, I can't,
Never mind what it is, you're proposing 24 feet.
I'm proposing from the garage door to the street is going to be that original 16 feet, except in the right-of-way on one side. We're going to widen that apron or that flare out another 8 feet.
How wider will the apron?
8 feet more,
8 feet, so that brings it down to 16?
plus 8.
Okay.
A total of 24.
At the street.
So the existing 16 will not expand towards the end of the property, it's going to expand towards the center of
Correct.
that curve?
Correct.
Okay.
Because the code that we're looking at is only addressing where the driveway is touching the street border of the property. So I had a question, but Ms. Rich first, please. No, have at it.
Well, the question, I understand you have the truck, and there's a picture, of a truck and another car in the current driveway that we have as part of what's been submitted to us. But from what your contractor is saying, it seems like from this picture, almost all of what's the stone part, other than the tree, will be pavers.
No.
Say, no, say that again?
There's a picture with the white,
Shells or
the
something.
shells or rocks. So, yeah, you can use the pointer, because it looks like from his other diagram that then what would remain is kind of the tree and in front of the tree, but the rest would be pavers.
No.
That's a very good question. I'll show you. We're talking from here to here. It would just go up to here. From here to here.
Yeah.
So you've got from here to here would all be rocks, trees.
And behind the tree as well would be rock.
Yes, we're just talking about 8 feet here to
But
go
8 feet's
up,
pretty big.
and then 8 feet here to go up, and all this would be rock, and all this would be rock.
If you see the way the SUV is sitting there? Assume that SUV backs down that circular driveway. As it comes down now, there's very limited viewing access. If we widen that flare 8 more feet, he has the ability to come to the side, and it gives him a much broader view of what's going on, even if he has to pull over for a few minutes. If he has to come straight back into the street and you have somebody come around that corner fast,
And then you hit the mailbox there,
it's a problem.
and the tree.
I certainly do understand, the challenges. I have a circular driveway, and my partner has a truck that's like where I met you in the parking lot, a truck your size. So I do understand. However, we do have concerns with the maximum allowed is you're already in exceeding that. I do have a question, I believe, for the staff. The area that is like in the, the easement, where are we measuring the 24 proposed feet and the 21 and a half feet? Because we're talking a flare.
Okay, so yes, let me provide a little clarity about the measurement. So how the code is written is it measures, the total width is limited at the property line, which is also the right-of-way line. So our measurement is along the property line. So anywhere the drive touches that property line, that counts towards the measurement. The code does allow for you to have flares to get out, like most driveways do, into the right-of-way street. But the issue is because it's how the widening is going, it's increasing the overall width at the property line. So a lot of times, what people will do is they'll reduce the width at the property line, and then they will bring the driveway up and then flare it out to the desired width once they're onto their property.
Right.
But that's where we're required to measure it along the property line, and the total width is obviously this plus this.
And Ally, I agree with you. And in a lot of instances, we're able to do that. We're able to narrow the area at the street in the right-of-way and then come out wider. In this instance, it would be useless, because it would defeat the whole purpose of widening the flare. He needs the area at the street to have that additional space. If he has it further up on the property, it's a wonderful thing for parking the cars, but it doesn't address the hazards that he's facing. And that's why I'm kind of locked between a rock and a hard place, no pun intended. But that's what we're trying to deal with. We're not just, obviously, as the homeowner said, aesthetically, it's going to be fantastic. But from a practical aspect, we're dealing with a hazard. And that's what we're trying to mitigate.
Thank you. Does anyone have any other questions for our applicant representative?
Yes. Can we go to the picture where the pickup truck was in the driveway with the SUV? Okay, right there. If that pickup truck looks like it's parked more as you come into the house to the left of the driveway rather than to the right of the driveway. So if you park it to the right of the driveway, don't you have enough room for that SUV to go out?
No.
The problem is if I back up, the moment I back up and I can't see that street where the stop sign is over to my right, people come running around that corner and they're beeping their horns incessantly. Like, you're supposed to watch out, there's driveways here, people. I can't see them, they can't see me. I could, if I had some pavers, I could pull up and then come out this way. And I'm not taking up all the rocks. The rocks are beautiful. It's just 8 feet at the apron to go up about 4 or 6 feet and aesthetically have it come around, but we're not looking to widen any more up where the white car is.
And Mr. Burrows, in difference to you, you're kind of talking two different ends. I understood your question. And yes, if he backed it up, it could probably come around. If you were out there, you would see the space. When I go to the house and his 2 cars are up there, I can barely park on the driveway. I can't fit my car on there. So if he would have backed that up and leave it further down, maybe he can get around, but he's not going to be able to make the swing around. What the homeowner is saying is dealing exclusively with the apron and the hazard. So you're talking actually at 2 different ends.
Thank you.
Any other questions? And have we received any feedback from any adjoining properties, any notifications? No. Okay, thank you. So before we move on with the motion, any other questions either for the applicant or for staff? Okay, seeing none, if we can have, so we can open for discussion, a motion.
Motion to approve.
We have a second.
Could we just public comment?
Oh my goodness, thank you.
Just in case.
Is anyone in the audience tonight who would like to speak on this application? All right, seeing none, thank you for
Thank you.
the correction there. So we have a motion to approve, and this is just for discussion. Do we have a second?
And keep in mind, just as the chair said, it's just for discussion. You do not have to vote in favor of it, but it is in order to move this along.
I'll second.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. If we wanted to, then thank you, open things up for any discussion.
Well, I'd like to explain. This goes to the very heart of why I believe that we need more flexibility in our review standards, but even if we go through this, the need for the requested variance arises out of the physical surroundings, shape, topographical conditions, or other physical environmental conditions that are unique to the specific property involved and which do not apply generally to property located at the same zoning district. Now, the city's response to that says that they didn't meet that, but I would argue that they're competent and substantial evidence that this is a dangerous situation and it needs to be corrected, and it's not going to harm anybody. Second, so it does rise out of the physical surroundings. Also the shape that it's currently in. The conditions or special circumstances peculiar to the property have not been self-created or have resulted from an action by the applicant or with prior knowledge or approval of the applicant. Again, they didn't create this situation with the traffic. They didn't create the situation with the current driveway, and I understand that they are putting in a new one, but they are putting in a new one to fix the current problem. 3, literal enforcement of the requirements of the City of Tarpon Springs comp plan or comprehensive land development code would have the effect of denying the applicant or reasonable use of the property. They are arguing that it does, that if we follow the letter of the law, that we would deny them reasonable use, their own personal safety and the safety of their vehicle. Granting the variance will not confer any special privilege. Well, we know that's true because those pavers all over the place, and they are various sizes in various driveways right across the street or 2 streets over. Granting the variance will not substantially diminish property values. Well, no, it's going to make them go up because it's going to make it look nice. So that's why I made a motion to approve.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hrabowski. Any other, Ms. Rich?
For me, I would love to know if this was permitted, originally. I have a problem with the extent of the width that they're proposing. I don't have a problem with granting a variance to keep the current size that exists. If they had come before us with a variance keeping with the size, to me, that makes sense. I drive plenty of SUVs and have driven trucks, and if it means that I have to do a K-turn onto the shells, I would do that. But, it also depends how people go into the driveway, how people park their cars on the driveway, what you tell your guests when they're coming in, I don't feel that their proposal, to the extent, the 8 feet in addition to what's there, I don't agree with.
Thank you, Ms. Rich. Mr. Boris?
Yes, I have a point to make. At the turn that the owner was talking about, the coming down fast, there's a stop sign there. And between the stop sign and the gentleman's house, there's only one more house. Let's assume that other house has 100 feet width, the lot itself. So any vehicle from the stop sign to the beginning of his driveway is going to travel maybe about 110 feet. There's no way they're going to be making 50 miles an hour. So on the other hand, if you want to park your truck on the curvature of the driveway and the SUV in front of the garage, you have plenty of room to move too, either way you go. So that's the point I want to make.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Simon, did you want to add anything?
No, I just think Mr. Hrabowski's comments shed things in a different light.
Thank you. Well, as I mentioned earlier, I do live in a home with a circular driveway, and my partner has a truck the size of yours. And I went out and I measured my driveway because I know what it's like to have to, with my driving skills, having to move his truck sometimes. So I have felt that, and so looking at my driveway, one entrance is 12 feet and the other is 14. And I will say, while I respect and understand the challenges that you have with this unique positioning of your home in relation to being there with MLK and Spring Bayou, we are constrained, albeit frustratingly so, as Mr. Hrabowski pointed out, to the existing criteria that we have to meet. And as Ms. Rich said, I do agree that we're looking at a driveway that, through no fault of your own, it's the driveway you inherited from the purchase of your home, was already out of compliance, was already in excess. So I am uncomfortable making it even more so. So that's the challenge that we are facing here with wanting to, we always want to do what's best for the homeowner while at the same time respecting the codes and ordinances that are before us, because that's the job that we are faced with. And knowing that these changes, they're not just for the current property owner, but they stay with the property. So just as you have inherited a driveway that is non-conforming, that is, beyond the maximum allowed width, so too would, God forbid you ever sell your home at any time, want to keep you here, but if you do, the next property owner is now inheriting that. So it is a challenging situation. We do have a motion for approval and a second. So if there's, not seeing any other comments.
Actually, I have one more question, if you don't mind,
Yes, sir.
for Ally. Are you aware of the county's BIB?
No.
The thing that he mentioned?
No, I don't know what their standard is.
Okay.
Because the bib is, you know, what I was
So
questioning
the
about.
bib or the apron, that typically
Apron.
is fully within the right-of-way. That's different than what this requirement is. This requirement is specifically the measurement along the property line. And as I mentioned, the city does allow you to have an apron going out into the right-of-way, but the issue, I just want to make sure it's clear. Because the widening is also, it's not fully in the right-of-way. This is the right-of-way, this is the private property, so
That's
that
for
extends it
aesthetics.
there.
Correct.
So that's the reason. But I do not know what the standard is in the county.
What they've done in the county, in unincorporated Pinellas, is extended the width to 5 feet, no matter the width of the driveway. But that's assuming it doesn't encroach in the required space between the property line and the driveway.
Right, you still keeping your setbacks.
So you gotta have your
side
setback, but as long as you have that, even if you had 35 feet of driveway or 40 feet of driveway, they still want those 5-foot flares.
Correct. Okay.
Chair,
Thank you
point
for
of
that.
order. I didn't want to interrupt, but the public hearing has been closed and there's a motion and a second and discussion on the floor, so there really shouldn't be any more testimony given from either the city or the applicant unless we'd like to withdraw the motion pursuant to Robert's rules and then go back to the public hearing.
Okay. So so we stay in compliance, are we looking to have any more discussion? Because if so, we can remove the motion. No? Okay, so seeing none, if we wanted to have a roll call. So it is, for clarification, we have a motion to approve.
Ms. Simon? Approve. Ms. Rich?
No.
Mr. Burris?
No.
Mr. Urbowski?
Yes.
Ms. Turner?
No. So we are terribly sorry. I hope that you can find some options and resolutions. that
I've
you
got
can-
some questions for the board, please. You had
It
mentioned,
would be inappropriate to ask the board questions. If you
okay,
do have-
may I make a statement?
No, the application, they have made their vote. You can certainly talk to staff after.
Well,
the
can I
meeting.
drive on the rocks? You had mentioned.
Sir, you need to talk to staff about that, and then you can do that after the hearing.
We can follow up, if you want to reach out tomorrow, we can follow up and talk about some options.
Can I reapply to for this same thing, or once
We,
you've
we'll,
been-
we'll talk about it. Well, I'll give you all those options tomorrow.
Okay,
Absolutely.
okay. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your time. I know it is a difficult
Thank you.
thing.
We'll figure it out.
Thank you. Okay, so if we have the next item on our agenda, which is application number 22-38, which is a variance to reduce the required rear yard setback for the construction of a carport located at 107 North Walton Avenue. If we can begin with our staff report, please.
Okay. All right, this property is located on the west side of North Walton Avenue, outlined in red on the screen. The property, as well as all surrounding property, is zoned R70A, which is a single-family residential zoning district. There is some residential office zoning to the south along Orange Street. The applicants are proposing to construct a new 400-square-foot accessory structure in their backyard. They're here today requesting variance approval to allow them to reduce the required rear yard setback. They are required to have a 20-foot minimum setback. They're proposing a 10-foot setback. This is a look at the survey with the approximate location of the proposed accessory structure, which is the blue structure here in the back. Again, they're proposing a 10-foot setback from the rear, whereas the R70A zoning district requires a 20-foot setback. They're proposing a 20 by 20 structure, 400 square feet total in size. There are 2 existing sheds on the property. The applicant has indicated that if they get approval of this, they will be removing those and consolidating their storage space into the one new structure. In addition to utilizing this for storage, they've also indicated that they'll, from time to time, put a personal vehicle within the structure. So the main reason, or one of the reasons why they're proposing to have a reduced setback is so that they can safely maneuver a vehicle into the garage when they need to. They've also indicated that it's not going to be for daily use to park cars, but they are able to access the structure from the side of the house through a gate that they have. So they won't be putting a new driveway or extending their driveway in order to access the structure. The property is also served by a septic system, and the septic and drain field is located behind the existing home. The reduced setback, according to the applicant, also allows them to have proper access to that drain field in the event it ever needs to be maintained in the future. The Land Development Code does provide some reduced setback allowances for accessory structures. However, it's depending on the size of the structure. If an accessory structure is 200 square feet or less in area, it reduces the rear setback to 5 feet. If a detached garage, which is kind of a hybrid of both, is 300 square feet or less in this zoning district, it will reduce the rear setback also to 5 feet. So if the proposed structure was smaller, again, they're proposing 400 square feet in size, they would be able to take advantage of these reduced setbacks. And there are your decision criteria, and if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you so much. Any questions for staff? I had a question. Can you please clarify the difference between a garage versus a shed? I think I know what it is because I see the exception where if it was a 300 square foot garage versus a 200 square foot shed. Are we talking door?
Yeah, typically, yes, has a garage access door, which the structure does have that. Typically, it's able to be accessed by a vehicle, although they're not putting in a permanent driveway of any sort. They can get access back to the structure. When I was preparing the staff report, I was looking at it kind of a hybrid between the two, so we looked at the standards, and again, for detached garage, it would allow them to go up to 300 square feet in area. Typically, a normal shed is 200 square feet or less, and that really is to get the reduced setback allowances. So any accessory structure that exceeds those, it defaults to the zoning district setbacks. So that's why the 20-foot rear setback comes into play here.
I have a question. Oh, George.
That's all right.
Well, the obvious, the sheds that are pre-existing are in excess of what they're asking for already. They're already up against the
So the current sheds, based off the sizes that I saw in the survey, it's about 250 square feet total area. And how we've looked at it, the ordinance, and interpreted it is it doesn't necessarily talk about the number of structures. It talks about the physical size of the structure.
Since they're
So right
smaller,
now
they can be close.
they're okay, but they
Yeah.
have indicated they're going to remove those.
Yeah, but they were okay just because of their small size. That's why they could be
Yes,
closer.
correct.
Thank you.
Mr. Forrest?
Yeah, where will the door be on the 20 by 20?
I will default to the applicant, but I believe that it's going to be on this front wall, but
Isn't
I
that
will
the
default to
septic
them.
tank drain
I'm sorry?
field? Isn't that the side where the septic tank drain field is?
Again, I'll let the applicant kind of talk in more detail about that, but I believe this is the drain field location, and the septic tank is over in this general location here.
Okay.
But the field is
And they
here.
are proposing to put a driveway on the side of the house to get to that 20?
No driveway. They're not going to put anything physical in there. They only are planning to put a vehicle in there from time to time. It's not going to be for daily use. So if they need to access it, they're able to drive along the side of their home
On the grass.
on the grass.
So if we don't have any other questions of staff at this point, we could hear from the applicant, if you would like. If you could just state your name and address for the record, please.
Antoinette Reg, my address is 107 North Walton Avenue. As you can see, per the survey, the backyard's only 60 square feet. So if we have to come 20 off the back and then another 20, that only gives us 20 square feet to even try to maneuver a vehicle in. And we have trucks that are 17 foot long, not lifted or anything, just normal sized trucks. We're trying to stay away from the back where she has a septic. The leach field runs there. Where it says storage, which is really a carport, right behind that is where the actual tank is. So the leach field runs there and runs in between both those sheds. So I have the two drains. So we're looking to put it in the far corner so we can condense stuff put tools in it, if we have to access it for him to work on a vehicle or for his workshop, we're trying to be able to have enough clearance to be able to maneuver so we're not hitting our house trying to back out or move.
Okay. So, any questions anyone has of the applicant?
Well, I guess, you know, it's that same when Ally was saying about the detached garage, but you're calling it the
Well-
garage, right? So.
Well, I'm
if-
calling it, I consider it a garage. The company we purchased it from calls it a carport.
Carport.
So it's gonna be a 20 by 20. It has the roll-up garage door. It's 9 foot tall. It's got the roll-up garage door, 8 foot wide, and then it'll have an access door. So that I don't have to roll up the garage every time I need to go in to get tools or anything that's in there. And that will all face the back side of the house, the garage door, of course, because that's the way we're gonna have to be able to access it to go in. Not exactly sure what to call it. I'm calling it a detached garage for my husband's
Right.
tools
So
and
it's-
everything. The company we're purchasing the shed from calls it a carport.
It's pre-built then? It's
They
like
will
a
actually
pre-built-
build it on site.
Okay. Do they have other specs if you did to make it the 300 square feet that would
The
allow you
only
the back room?
problem is in order to get all the specs and the diagrams that we're required to present to everybody, we had to go ahead and put a deposit and purchase the size shed we wanted, and we had to pay extra for them to send us the plans. So, yes, sir.
Did you say that the septic tank is close to the AC unit or to the storage area?
Yes, if you look at the storage, Ellie, if you could point,
Right in here?
okay, it's right down, well, it's back there, behind the storage, almost there.
So the septic tank itself
The
is the
septic tank
drain field
itself.
area, correct?
Yes, and that's the leach field that runs off. Right behind our house is a leach, one of the lines, and then in between the sheds, another one. And so,
Then in that case, why you have to take only 10 feet and you don't take the 20 feet and move it closer to the house? Since the septic tank is closer to where the AC unit is at.
but the thing of it is we've got the drain field right there. So if they have to come in and actually redo our drain field or put in a new septic tank, they have to have access in our yard to be able to pull out the old and put in all the new stuff.
By putting that building there, how will they get too close to the AC to replace the septic tank? Won't they have to go over the septic tank drain field? The trucks that you mentioned about in case
Oh,
you...
no, for the septic tank, to have it drained?
No, the septic tank itself.
Okay,
You mentioned that it may have to be replaced in the future.
yes,
And the trucks have to come in from the side of the house over the septic drain field to take care of that, correct?
oh, yeah, they would have to be able to maneuver to come to the back to put it in because the actual tank's over by the storage.
Okay, so in that case, that drain field is deceptively put there. It can be closer to the AC unit, correct?
No, because the drain field, the leach field's in the ground. We can't mess with the leach field. And our house is,
Excuse me,
so let me see, our house is right here. Our air conditioner's right here.
Yes.
The backside of our house is right here.
yes?
The leach field goes behind our house. Our AC unit's over on this corner.
Yes.
And right over here is the actual septic tank in the ground.
Okay.
Okay.
Isn't it the septic tank itself, the drain unit?
Yes, that's where they drain it, and when they come in, they come to the front of the house, they run the hose, and they bring a hose down, drain the septic tank, and then take everything
I
away.
just don't understand the septic drain field being far away from the AC where the septic tank itself is.
All right, can I speak? Maybe I can help.
You can have two areas. For the septic tank is the unit that drains out.
Yes, sir, you can, if you can come to the podium and
I try to,
state your name
my name's Albert.
for the record.
My name's Albert. My last name's Greg, same, okay. We got the AC unit right there. Right beside the AC unit, there's a big septic tank here.
Okay?
That septic tank here, my leach field goes behind my house, right
Okay.
down where you can see that septic drain field. This is my lines going down beside my house. That's the reason we had this moved back 10 foot to have more room if they do come out and replace my septic field. We have more room, instead of the garage being way over here, we wanted to set back 10 more feet. If I can get 5 more feet back there, that'd be great too. But we're fighting for 10 more feet. This way, if they come and replace the septic lines, they can come and do that.
My point is this, where the drain field is now, any vehicle you want to drive into the 20 by
No,
20,
we're not driving on the drain.
how would you get it in if the
Because
door
my
is?
house is this, my house sits.
I'm sorry, sir. On the diagram up there, the septic drain field,
Yeah, yeah. It doesn't
the
go
door-
all the
and
way
the
across
door
my
of the-
house. It doesn't go all the way across the fence line. It stops,
It stops just
It
before the end of
stops.
our house.
I'm aware of that.
yes.
By
But
driving,
we're
the-
not running over the septic field.
but the door is going to be adjacent to it. The door of the garage itself is going to be,
Way over there. It'd be right at the side, at the fence line, the 7.5 feet you're giving me.
that's where the door is going to be?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. It'd be right off the 7.5 feet on the side.
So I guess for clarification, is the garage type door, is it facing the side fence or is it facing your house?
It'd be facing, the sun comes up in the east, it'd be facing east, I guess.
Well, what is it towards the house? Is it towards the house or
Yeah,
towards the
or
fence?
But I'm not running over the septic field or the drain system.
we have like 10 foot from our house and the end of the fence. So we're only putting it at 7.5 so we could still drive the vehicle down. We're not running over any of the drain
So
field or
the
anything.
door is going to be between the fence and the building?
No, it's the house.
It's a house.
Okay. Then according to that plan, you're right, you're driving over the septic tank? Okay, okay.
So the diagram is not
Misleading.
exactly accurate.
No, that's this, I put
Gotcha.
septic drain field, that's only the
Drain field.
lines, the leach field.
Right, so
The
that
septic
leach
tank's
field,
not even over on that end.
that's more on the,
It's right behind the storage over by the AC side.
That's what was my question originally.
Yeah, that's where this actual big septic tank is at itself,
We're not
that's
running over
drained.
the lines and the.
but, and the drain field is more closer to our yellow house. So then, given that, then what is prohibiting you from complying with the 20-foot setback?
Well, because you're taking up 40 feet of the yard, you go to try to pull a vehicle into the garage right there, you're not gonna be able to turn around and back up within 20 feet when a vehicle is about 17 foot. You've got 3 feet to try to maneuver to back up without hitting the house or the side fence.
Okay, so, the other thing, here we are, engineering on the dais and Diane, the other sheds, the 2 other sheds are being removed. I mean, I'm seeing a lot of potential real estate to help you get your 20 by 20-foot shed and the space you need to maneuver your vehicles.
Well,
Channeling your inner Gwenzer.
I did a
It's like you just
Glenzer,
cut this and move it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of hard to go over. We can't move the shed over on the other side, the carport, because we can't get rid of the sheds till we get a storage unit built to condense everything.
So it's, you need
We need to have the
the
building,
order of
rent-a-pod.
operation.
yeah, because
The
of
order
the
of
fact that.
operation.
Thing in a 10 by 10 shed, you never get to see it again. I mean, it's-
Yeah, I mean, we have our dirt bikes in there, we've got our ATVs, we've got him pretty full, so we're trying to condense, have a bigger shed, condense, get rid of some of this stuff, and not have it so close to the house, so that when we do drive in, or if we had to even back in a trailer back there.
Yeah.
We don't want to have to hit the house.
So if the shed, what I'm calling like the 13 by 9, you know, that 13 by 10,
Yeah.
that middle, if that did not exist, you would be able to maneuver the placement of the 20 by 20 foot shed to meet the setback requirements and give you your driving area, correct?
It'd be kind of tight because then you're still looking at the fact of I only have 20 feet clearance from the back of my house to the shed.
No, we won't change it.
Saying I only have 20 feet to try to maneuver, turn the corner into the garage, and still try to back up without hitting the house that's there.
But I see Mr. Burris's question from earlier, because if you're using the side of the house as the entrance to the backyard, you're coming down that side, which is the top of our picture there, you're coming down
Yes.
that house, and then if you're saying the garage door, and most garage doors are, I don't know, 8 feet or
Yes, 8
so,
foot.
so that's not half of the blue, but a good chunk of the blue. In order to maneuver that vehicle in there, you're gonna have to drive across the dotted septic drain
The thing
field
of it is
currently,
that
once you,
dotted
to get it
septic
in
drain
there.
field is exaggerated. The drain field itself is probably about this wide.
Right, and so that's why they
So
were
it's-
saying
it's
if you
kind of
moved it.
exaggerated on the diagram as to how wide it is, but it doesn't extend past my house. It actually ends before the end of my house. So we're not driving on the leach field. The leach field's, I don't know how many feet underneath the ground anyways.
Right,
So we're accessing it through the fence we have that's on the one side of the house, because we can't access it on the other side.
right.
There's no access on the other side.
Can I have one more question?
Certainly.
I have one more question for
Sure.
you. The way the 20 by 20 stands, the blue building, and the
Yes.
septic drain, the garage door, the 8-foot garage rolling door is going to be between the house and the 20 by 20 over the septic drain, correct?
No, it's not going to be over the septic drain, no.
To get the
To
car
get
in
to the,
it.
to get the car to the door,
Never gonna.
you're going to go over the septic drain, correct?
No, it doesn't extend that far out.
Okay, then in that case, why don't you move the building closer to the house since it doesn't extend that far out?
Because then we can't access it like we would want to. It's too tight. You can't get a car in or maneuver because of the way of edge of our house comes out, and we only have 60 square feet, so we're taking up 40 square
Okay,
feet.
then the other
between building
solution,
and
the only
back.
solution you have is to stay within the 20 feet of easement in the back, get rid of the shed, the 9 by 9 by 13 by 1 shed, move this whole thing over closer to the brick area, and that way you will get your garage door between the fence and the blue building, so you'll be able to maneuver to get in and get out. There's no way you're gonna do that over the septic tank, drain.
Yeah, so that's kind of, I was picturing something like that, you know, taking
Right.
the 20 by 20, and I know you have that existing smaller shed there, which is full, so, but like you said, it's almost like a temporary obstruction into your permanent long-term vision of consolidating, cleaning things up. I get it. I'm in the middle of that kind of stuff myself. So, like Mr. Boris, I believe, was saying, if you had the 20 by 20 down and to the right as well, then you could have the garage door opening facing the fence rather than the house, and you would then have plenty of swing room. And still not impeding on the drain field.
But
So
they would still need the
basically-
10-foot variance, though.
No, it's gonna need less variance.
Well, yeah, but they still need a variance, right?
Put a 10-foot
No, they need 20, they want it down to 10.
leach field. We don't want to be on the leach field if they ever have to come out and replace that septic tank. So we want to be back further. You can't get an ambulance, it ain't like a driveway back there. I'm fenced in between all these houses beside me. So my fence is backed up to another fence, to another fence, to another fence. All I'm asking is to move it back 10 foot away from the septic drain field, actually in the leach field, just in case if they ever have to come in, they can come in and replace all of that. They have plenty more room. You're trying to tell me, come off the back of the fence 20 foot to put another 20-foot garage on there that won't probably give me 20 foot away from my house to my garage. And I've been living here for what, 24 years? And I haven't asked for nothing, and all I just wanted is set back away from the septic drain field. I'm not backing on the septic field. I'm not on the leach field. The leach field is right behind my house. Actually, it's way before the house. So I'm trying to work that all in there too, just in case we're gonna have a problem anyways, because the house has been built since 1959. So one of these days, I'll have to fork out another $10,000 to have my house, my septic tank replaced with a new septic field. And that 10 foot away from that gate back there will help me to get that septic field in there. I can't be right on my septic field.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
if
ma'am.
I could. One of your criteria, it sounds like from what the board is attempting to do and your questions are kind of pushing towards, one, in my view, is one of the criteria is that it's the minimum variance requested in order to have reasonable use of the property. So I would just say, my suggestion would be to focus on the evidence as the reasonable use of the property. There are several sheds already on the property. Reasonable use of the property is how other property owners are also able to use their property. I appreciate, as I usually do, that you all are trying to be helpful and find solutions. But again, the board's job is not to find a solution. The board's job is to take the evidence that's been presented, compare it to the criteria, and find out if it meets the criteria. So I think that we are starting maybe to loop a little bit here with what's being said. And I think most of the questions are centering around whether this is the minimum variance that could be requested and whether or not the variance is even needed to have reasonable use of the property. So maybe just think if the garage is a reasonable use of the property based on everything that you've heard.
Thank you. That helps because, yes, we're going in circles. Okay. So that is a very good point. I mean, given that words of wisdom, do we have any other questions from either our applicant or our staff when we are talking? Because that is the thing, that this is something to consider, is the reasonable use of the property. And perhaps, Ally, can you clarify if sheds and detached garages and such ancillary structures are common in this area?
Yes.
Thank
Very
you.
common.
So and a question for the applicant, do you currently have I don't believe from your house, you have what's labeled storage, but you said it's a carport, so you do not have a
No, we have-
typical garage.
No, we don't have a typical garage.
You do not have a
whatsoever.
typical garage.
Yeah,
This would
that's
be,
the reason for the sheds.
okay,
It's a storage, so we have no garage to be able to put anything in,
understand. Thank you.
other than my office.
And that's not acceptable.
No, it's not.
I feel your pain.
Happy life. Trying to make it happy.
So before we look to open this up for a motion,
Oh, can we get public?
any public comment? Don't see anyone present.
For purposes of the record.
I hope there aren't people. And have there been any communications received from any neighboring properties?
No.
We have none of those? Okay, so if no further questions, we can entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. So If there's no other questions, we can close public comment and have a roll call.
Do you want discussion amongst the board?
Ma'am?
Discussion amongst the board. So the public hearing has been closed.
Yes,
At this
thank
point,
you.
you do discussion. No worries. We changed the meeting to 6:30. It was the first time, so I understand.
This has been a month.
I know, I understand.
Any discussion here?
No, I know a lot of the homes with the old septic systems are being switched over to the city, but not all of them yet. And septic issue, the drain field, while it may be able to drive over, if it does have to be completely dug out and redone, is an issue, so.
Yeah, I get what they're saying. I mean, it's a challenge. I mean, they do have storage, but they don't have a place to put a car or something, so that is kind of a bummer. And if we could just kind of rotate all this around, but that's not what we're here to do, so.
Correct. Right, and that is
So,
absolutely right.
Yeah, but I don't personally have a problem with this.
Mr. Boris?
No, I have no comment.
Simon?
No comment.
Okay, so I do see that as well. I've lived in a house with a carport only, and it presents its own unique challenges, and the, long-range needs for your septic and the environmental impact of not being able to do that appropriately is certainly concerning, not only for you, but for, your neighbors. Yes. So if we may have a roll call, please.
Ms. Simon?
Approve.
Ms. Rich?
Approve.
Mr. Burris?
Yes.
Mr. Urbowski?
Yes.
Ms. Turner?
Approve. Happy shedding, garaging, excuse me.
Did not see that coming.
Thank y'all, same to you. Okay,
If you have to redo a septic, they do have to dig up the
so
whole
Ally will
thing.
get with y'all.
Yeah, I'll talk to you guys. Thank you.
So do we have any staff comments this evening?
I do, just one. So as you may have noticed, this month, Kim sent you a calendar invite for the meeting, and that had an attachment with the agenda materials. We just wanted to see if everyone was comfortable with that. If you liked it, we would continue to do it that way.
Mine must have went in spam.
Same here, I didn't get it. I didn't get it at all, nothing.
I didn't get
I
it.
got it.
I got mine.
I got mine.
I didn't get it.
So maybe we will continue to send just a PDF.
Okay, I'll send them via email.
Yeah, I had to read this on the website.
I did too.
Okay, all right.
Okay, I'll send
And
them
then just,
via email.
if anyone does have problems in the future, if you don't receive a pack or you have questions, always feel free to reach out to us and make sure.
Oh, I would. I found out from
Okay, good.
Cheryl last night that we even had a meeting. So,
Goodness
Okay.
me.
Okay, well, we'll go back to our old ways. I'm glad I
we
asked.
made it.
Are you an
You're all
AOL?
here, we have a full
Yes.
board.
We're the AOL
Yeah, we have
people.
AOL.
Okay.
That's why.
Okay.
That's probably why.
Introduce you to the 21st century.
Not yet.
Not
I was
yet.
going to say, I think for legal reasons, perhaps maybe moving away from AOL would be a good idea.
For legal reasons.
So you get the agendas from now.
And so we don't tease you.
I try not
sundial
to.
was
I
a
try
little
not
off,
to
too.
use my quasi-government agency email as my email for this. I use my personal email.
I did enjoy the sundial comment. That was very.
Goes with his AOL. Thank you. So do we have any board comments this evening? Anyone have anything to share? Mr. Urbowski?
Actually, yes. I know there were openings for various boards last night. I know you have something to say about that. So I had found out that the Planning and Zoning is going to do some meeting with the Board of Commissioners, and we had done something like that in the past. And I just want us to consider, I know we can't do it tonight for whatever meeting, but at some point to consider potentially doing that to meet with the new board.
Thank you, sir.
I'm happy to take that. There has been rumor and innuendo about that, but there has not been a scheduled meeting between the Planning and Zoning Board and the Board of Commission. And yes, we did have a very irregular meeting between the Board of Commissioners and this board years ago. And that was, like I said, very irregular and not something that will likely happen again in the future. But if that is something that's going to happen, it would be because there is an issue that needs to be discussed between the two boards. As you were there, you understand what those issues were. So if and when something like that happens, it would be something clearly out of the blue, but that is a unprecedented legal issue that I will tell you, between the city attorney and I, that is not something that has come up, so.
All right, well, thanks for the clarification on that. Is Mr. Boris or Ms. Simon?
Just a question, I wasn't clear with what Chris was saying about the making new appointments. Have they made new alternate appointments for our board?
Not for our board. That was a point I was going to bring up, as Mr. Obowski had said at last night's city commission meeting. There were appointments to 5 other city boards. Not ours, obviously. So I had inquired about that because, you know, we do have a vacancy, are so wonderfully blessed to have, you know, Ms. Simon here stepping up as an alternate. But then that leaves us without an alternate sitting here. So there have not been any applicants for our board thus far. I don't know why. So my thought was to get your thoughts on us asking our city staff if we could ask the people who did not receive an appointment to a board through last night's process, because they have standing applications open with the city, you know, with the city clerk, to say, would you be interested in entertaining the idea of being on the Board of Adjustment? Because there are citizens who have expressed an interest in serving. So maybe they don't want to because they don't know how wonderful our board is.
But, I mean, most of us came through the channel of Citizens Academy.
Absolutely.
And because of the pandemic, we haven't had
Right.
recent Citizens Academy. But I'm wondering, is that something where we could talk to the clerk, or someone could talk to the clerk, Irene, about maybe putting something on Connect, Tarpon?
That is an excellent idea.
Get some new people that,
And I have heard that Citizens Academy is looking to come back in the fall, but we can't wait till the fall. We don't want to wait till the fall. So I think both of those are excellent suggestions about
So-
utilizing Connect Tarpon.
Yeah, so not necessarily Citizens Academy through Connect Tarpon, but maybe there's something that we can put information on there about that, and that's something we can
no, I
talk
mean
about.
about the application.
But yes,
About
that
the
is
app-
actually something
For city
we
For city boards.
yes
And
we
then
intended
obviously it's up to the commissioners to decide who to appoint.
Correct.
But they could do a call to get a new pool of people instead of just waiting
Yes.
until.
Yes, we can send out a newsletter, which I'm sure if you guys are registered, you've gotten my newsletters. We can send out a newsletter, similar to how they do press releases, and we've done that for some of the other items that maybe aren't necessarily Connect Tarpon topics, but we wanted to get it out to as many people as we could. So we can definitely work with the clerk's office. I don't necessarily know if they, I don't know if they advertise for the Board of Adjustments positions at the same time that they did the ones they did the appointments for this time. But I'll follow up with the clerk's office, and then we can send something definitely through Connect Tarpon Springs. We have, I want to say we have just under 600 registered
Right.
users now, which is excellent.
That
So
would be greatly
keep telling your
appreciated.
friends to register.
That's a fantastic idea. So
And then
I
you're
just was
obviously
excited to see that
screened.
there's applicants out there, so we can maybe woo someone to our wonderful board.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's not like we're deciding, it still gets
Yep.
screened.
Right.
but-
But they need applicants to make a decision on.
Right.
Is the idea. And I love the 6:30 time, and profuse apologies to all for not remembering the wonderful 6:30 time. So that will not happen
Do we have a
again.
meeting next month?
Made it on time.
May? No, we do not have any applications, right, Kim? No May applications, no.
What's
I
the
do believe we
cutoff?
have one in June, so
What's the cutoff for May?
it's no, it's cut off I had to do advertising, I think, today, so.
So that means no meeting next
No
month.
meeting next month, but
Yay.
June, yes.
Mr. Boris?
Yes. I don't see the minute approval here for February,
I'm sorry.
Our minutes.
our minutes.
Were minutes not, we didn't have a March meeting, so
True, but
February,
we need to approve
yeah.
February's.
Kim, do we have the minutes?
No, was it on the agenda?
No.
Not on the agenda.
No.
No,
No.
you'll have them
So
at
we'll
your,
do them in the
you'll have them at
next time.
your next meeting in June, we'll have them.
Yeah, we don't do them every month, so sometimes she does them as a group. Just FYI, I won't be here for June, so see you all in July if we have a July.
On the,
So,
on the-
Simon, please be here June.
I'll be here.
on the point of getting members for the Board of Adjustment, in the past, from what I know, city officials were able to recommend somebody, like the city manager and so on and so forth. Can that be followed the same way until September when the Citizens Academy opens up?
I'm not
Yeah,
positive.
you can't really have a temporary member. The commission would still have to appoint someone to the board.
But I'm saying somebody recommended by a member.
Of course, anyone can recommend someone. I think they still have to fill out an application and
I
still have to go in
understand
front of
that.
the
I
board. But yeah,
understand
of course, yeah.
Okay.
In fact, if you know of somebody that you might want to have on the board, you can go to
Okay, thank you.
someone and recommend that they apply.
Yeah, and the city clerk, I believe it's even on the website. The application is right there, but, you know, Ms. Jacobs is more than happy to help if you have someone in mind. All right, lots of great comments. So if we have finished, we shall adjourn 7:50.
All right.
See you all in July.